Chapter 1, Part 2. Or chores. His parents had started attaching brightly colored notes to his tennis shoes and video games. But forget that basketball tryouts for the middle school boys team at Grandview Community School were today? It was all he had thought about for weeks. True, he was a little shorter than most of the boys in his class, but he was fast, and he had been practicing in his driveway every single day for the last month. He was ready. "Yeah, Mom, I know," he said, munching a little quicker, suddenly feeling more awake. His mom lifted his chin with her finger and looked at him with her bright green eyes. "Just know that whatever happens, your father and I are proud of you." Jeremiah suddenly hopped up and wrapped his arm around Jonah's neck, tightly squeezing as he talked, so hard that Jonah coughed up some of his breakfast. "Yeah, Jonah, we are proud of you." Eliza stood at the door, her arms crossed and scowling. She wore a pink sparkly blouse and a black skirt with leggings. Even Jonah had noticed that she was dressing differently this year. No more sweatpants and raggedy t-shirts, but she was still his little sister. Yes, we are all so proud of you, big brother," she said sarcastically. "Now can we get going, please? You're going to make us miss the bus." They had to run to the bus stop, but they made it. In almost no time, the bus pulled up to a campus of large, one-story brick buildings. Grandview Community School sprawled out in every direction, connected by an intricate spider web of cracking concrete walkways. Jeremiah stood at the bottom of the bus steps, waiting patiently for his big brother. "Come on, Jonah, take me to class." When school started, their mom made Jonah promise he would walk his brother to his class. But that was 4 weeks ago. "Shouldn't you know your way to your own room by now?" Jonah thought as he looked down at Jeremiah. Jonah sighed, knowing it wasn't worth the argument. "Fine, but I'm not holding your hand." He dropped his head a little lower as he walked beside his brother, who happened to be skipping. As a 7th grader, Jonah knew nothing good was going to come from people seeing him walk around every morning with a little kid wearing a Scooby-Doo backpack. Jonah dropped Jeremiah off at his classroom and then hurried to the 7th grade hallway, entering his first class just as the bell rang. "Nice kick, Stone. Been shopping at the Goodwill store again?" The boy sitting around Zach Smellman's desk snorted, and he grinned at Jonah, with his arms folded. Gritting his teeth, Jonah reminded himself that the first day of basketball tryouts started this afternoon. Smellman was not going to get the best of him today. So he didn't let it bother him. Later that morning, when he got back his science test and only scored a 78, he was not shaken when his math teacher gave the class 2 hours of extra homework. All he could think about was what was going to happen on the basketball court. Finally, mercifully, the clock struck 3. His stomach was doing somersaults, but he was ready. He knew it. With his gym clothes on and basketball shoes laced up, he took the floor with the other boys. 39 to be exact, going out for just 12 spots. He glanced at them nervously, sizing up the competition. Most of them seemed bigger and stronger than he was. Jonah grabbed a ball to warm up and started taking shots, trying not to let any bad thoughts seep into his brain. He began with 3 free throws. He was really good at these. Clang, clang, clang. 3 in a row went bouncing off the rim. The 4th hammered off the backboard and didn't even touch the rim at all. At home, he could make 3 out of 4, at least. What was going on? Suddenly, his lunch felt like it was about to come up. Coach Martin Nelderbaum, or Coach Marty, as he told everybody to call him, was the physical education instructor at the school. He said he had played basketball in high school, but Jonah couldn't see how. Coach Marty almost had the proportions of a basketball himself, with a huge belly that hung out from the bottom of his way too small gray gym shirt. He practically yelled every word that came out of his mouth. "Hello, my name is Coach Marty. Today is the first day of middle school boys basketball tryouts. You are mine for the next hour and a half, and you will do whatever I say. Now don't take this the wrong way, but a bunch of you are not going to make this team." He had to pause there to take a few breaths, exhausted already from his own scream-talking. "Try your hardest. I will be looking for the best 12 players on the floor. I want to see 100% effort from each of you." Jonah zoned out a little when Coach Marty went on like this for 10 more minutes, even though he was determined to pick up any last-minute pointers he could. Apparently, it looked like he would need them. Finally, Coach Marty instructed everybody to get in a line in front of the basket, and the tryouts were officially underway. No one tried harder than Jonah, but in the running drills, he was one of the last to finish the wind sprints. He missed 3 out of the 5 layups he attempted in the layup drill. His free throws bounced off the basket like there was an invisible cover on it. When he lined up to take 3-point shots, only 1 out of 4 even hit the rim. The rest totally missed the goal. One of them even hit Coach Marty in the stomach when he wasn't looking. He grunted, glared at Jonah, and tossed the ball to the next guy. Jonah watched as the coach stared at him with one eye while writing furiously in his clipboard. He swallowed hard. Was he writing something about him? It was a miserable tryout. He couldn't stay out of his own way. But Jonah reminded himself that at least there were 2 more days to prove himself. Coach Marty gathered the boys in the center of the court and yelled at them again. Saw a lot of great stuff out there today, men. For the most part, you boys did great. Same time, same place, tomorrow afternoon. Now hit the locker room. The tired boys were staggering away from midcourt when Coach Marty, still staring down at his clipboard, barked, Stone! Come on, Jonah. A word with you, son. As the others left, Coach Marty put his arm around Jonah's shoulder and spoke in a slightly more normal volume for the first time that day. Son, he said, sounding only a little less like the human bullhorn he was before, do you play any other sports? Jonah stared at him for a minute, not understanding the question. When he opened his mouth, all that came out was a sputter of words. Well, not really. Basketball is my... Coach Marty patted his shoulder and nodded sadly. Listen, son, I've seen a lot of great basketball players in my day, and I can confidently say that after watching you practice today, basketball is not your sport. The words hung in the air, and Jonah felt like the coach had suddenly begun speaking in a foreign language. Not your sport. What did he mean? Coach Marty saw the confusion on his face and took a more direct route this time. I don't think you need to come back tomorrow, Stone, the coach said gruffly. I've seen enough. You're not going to make the team. He patted Jonah on the shoulder hard, twice. Truth hurts sometimes, kid, but don't worry. There are plenty of other sports to play. Then, as if he had just had the greatest idea ever, he said, Ever thought about badminton? And with that, he walked off the court, leaving Jonah standing there alone, mouth hanging open. Basketball is not your sport. The words started to sink in. Ever thought about badminton? Not your sport. Jonah turned and walked slowly back into the locker room. All the boys were laughing loudly, bragging about all the shots they made in the tryout. Jonah shuffled quietly to his locker, grabbed his stuff, and made a beeline for the door. He just wanted to be invisible. He tore across the gym floor, pushing the double doors open, slamming one of them hard against the brick wall on the way outside of the building. How could this happen? How could he have played so badly? And how could Coach Marty have asked him not to come back tomorrow? His legs began to move faster. He was not sure where he was running, but he just needed to go, to get away from everything, from the gym, the other guys, from everyone. Jonah found himself on the empty soccer field behind the school. He slowed down and began to catch his breath. Suddenly the words his dad had said 1,000,000 times popped into his head. If you're ever stuck, pray. Trust me, it will all work out. He sighed heavily as he brought himself to a halt and slipped his gym bag from his shoulder. Standing in the middle of the field and leaning with his hands on his knees. God, it's Jonah, he said, and with that the words began to erupt. I know you are there, and I know you love me, but I don't know what to do. Things aren't going great right now, and I can't believe what just happened at the basketball tryout. I know I haven't been getting much sleep the past couple nights, but am I really that bad? Everyone thinks I'm a loser. I'm not good at anything. Tears began to form in his eyes and then run hotly down his face. He wiped them on his shirt sleeve, but that didn't help them stop. Instead, his shoulders began to shake, and his chest heaved as he cried. He stood there until the tears finally dried up. God, can you help me? Can you show me what to do? Can you just fix this? His dad was fond of calling God Elohim, one of his names from the Bible, which in the ancient Hebrew language meant strong one. He also loved to tell Jonah and his brother and sister that praying was the most powerful thing any human could do, and that Elohim listened to them, and that if they would listen back, he would speak. But the truth was, neither Jonah or his dad, as far as he knew, had ever heard God's voice. Maybe it was just something his dad was supposed to say. He was a pastor, after all. It was his job to believe that stuff. Jonah looked up at the sunny sky, hoping for an answer, but all he heard were a few birds chirping in the distance, and even they grew silent. He shrugged his shoulders and began to walk off the field. What did he expect? For God to show up on a field and turn him into LeBron James? What a joke. He suddenly felt his anger welling up again, at the coach, at himself, at everybody, and he clenched his teeth. A stray soccer ball was on the field in front of him, and without thinking, he charged it, kicking it at the soccer goal as hard as he could. Then the strangest thing happened. The ball bounced. No, flew. No, rocketed off his foot. It went up higher than the goal, higher than the treetops. It kept rising like it was shot out of a cannon. Jonah's mouth dropped open as he watched the ball fly up, 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 so far into the sky that it was a speck within a few seconds. Then it was gone. Spotting another abandoned ball, he looked around to see if anyone had seen what had just happened. No one was in sight. So he concentrated on the ball in front of him, ran toward it, and swung his leg. The ball shot off like a rocket again, blasting over the forest behind the school, and, at least it looked like it, tearing a hole through a lone white cloud in the sky. Then it disappeared. Jonah pushed his fingers through his matted hair. He had never seen anybody do what he just did. He was pretty sure that a professional soccer player couldn't do that. So how did he, a 13-year-old kid who had just gotten kicked out of the basketball tryouts for not being good enough, kick a soccer ball over the trees and out of sight? What is going on? He stood, staring at the sky, almost in a trance, as his mind churned. Finally, he glanced down at his watch. He was late for his ride home. He grabbed his gym bag and quickly made his way around to the foot of the gym, still shaking his head and looking at his foot.